Esto es Warp Talks, el podcast de Warp, en el que creamos un espacio de diálogo vivo con los nombres que marcan el ritmo en las diferentes industrias creativas alrededor del mundo.
In the recording process, since you start to wrote the first song and then in the last song and finally finish him?
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't really remember. It was long ago, but I find that most of the processes are like the times I've been in the studio are just, you know, it's there's ups and downs, and you know, times where you feel, well, I mean, I guess that's boring. I'll try to get a little excerpt. I guess there was definitely something exciting about it because I just kept going. I feel like I could have still been recording. I like stopped at 20 because I was like, oh shit, that's too much work to do. I didn't realize we had gone so far, you know. So there's something special about this time.
Cool, absolutely. It really feels, and also, you know, this album it really feels fresh in a way, just to put it in words. And you know, one of the greatest songs that I like, it's obviously your collab with GoldLink in 199. So it really feels like it has like a melody that you maybe never explore in a way, and that makes like a unique song. So how this collaboration happened?
With GoldLink?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that one maybe usually everything I've done is pretty organic. That one's probably not that organic. That song was done, and I felt like I'd been trying since like Spooky Couch, or maybe sooner, to like get hip hop artists to like loop parts of Stroke songs or parts of my songs. There was a automatic stock part that I wrote that I thought could be looped and rapped over. I don't know. I just grew up in LA, and I just like that stuff. Like, I guess Dr. Dre when I was like 10 or 11 or 12. And I just had this like circus like guitar solo in 100 minus 99, and I just thought it was you know, it'd be cool to get someone to rap over. It's a lot harder than it sounds. I feel like I was lucky enough. I guess GoldLink liked it and put something down, but I never got to meet him. I didn't even know it was happening. I just got sent the finished thing, and I was like, oh, cool. Like, the album was done, you know? It's like one of the last things we put in.
Cool. I didn't know that you were a fan of Dr. Dre and hip hop in general.
Want to cut off what?
I don't know that you were into Dr. Dre in your younger days. So that's a really good.
Yeah, wasn't everyone?
Well,
I mean, we weirdly, like, you know, living in LA, 7th grade, it was kind of like, it was very big. It was very big in my, whatever was hitting, you know, sometimes it depends what age you are. It was just like perfect age. And there's a lot of that rap from that early 90s that's very melodic. They used really cool songs. I mean, the Ice Cube song, Today Was a Good Day, is still one of my favorite songs. I put on a lot of playlists. That Isley Brothers part looped over. It's just very, very cool.
Cool, man, amazing. And also you have another interesting collaborations in the whole record, in the whole album. Another one of those collaborations is Thoughtful Distress. You know, you work with Matt Helders from the Arctic Monkeys, and also Steve Stevens, you know.
Yeah,
that was amazing, man. How this collaboration happened? I know that you were a good friend of Matt Helders and also with Steve Stevens. So how this collaboration happened? Do you call them? It just happen naturally? I don't know.
I mean, it was pretty natural. We kind of spoke about it. He lives in LA, and we'd run into each other, and I'd always say, I love his drumming. I always watch him when they played. So I was like, you know, whenever that happens, you always like in passing say, that'll be fun to do something, you know, just to put it out there. You don't know if they're going to do it. And then I think it just, the right song came along. It was amazing that Steve Stevens wanted to come on board. It really shaped the end of the song. Also Nicole Rowe played bass. She's an amazing bass player. So it just had Nicole, Matt, and Steve and my pretty cool band, and everyone was super delicate and smart about working around the song. And we actually started, speaking of the Isley Brothers, we started trying to make it sound like that, but the beat and the vibe didn't work, and then it changed. So it was cool to, you know, it's always nerve-wracking to be with people like that. You want it to go well, you want them to have a good time, you also want to create something that you like and you think is good. So it's like, but you know, it's a fine line. They're all doing you a favor, so you're not going to push them. You know,
of course.
They just do whatever they do and try to capture it. But it really worked out. Yeah, I feel very, very lucky about that one.
Yeah, it is a great song generally. And also one of the other tracks that caught my attention, it was this another collab with Rainsford and on Remember, and also All Right Tomorrow, the last track on the album. You know that. Especially All Right Tomorrow was one of my personal favorites, man, because I have to say I never heard you put a song in a record like that in that way, you know, with that kind of collab and this powerful voice. And I think this is just like a really big step. It's like if you're going through another level in your way of making music. So how do you feel writing this song?
I mean, to be honest, it just feels like me. It's always been in there. I've always liked music like that. Maybe I was just showcasing, when you have that many songs, just showcasing different songwriting abilities. I mean, I knew right away when I wrote it, I was like, this is not for me to sing. It needs a really big voice. I've always tried to write songs and collab with different female artists. I don't know if like melodies I write, I don't know. I just feel like I see them fitting. I don't know. I just wanted to showcase a different thing. You got 20 songs. It's nice and not have your voice everywhere, kind of like a palate cleanser. And it just felt like I always do what the song, I try to do what the song wants. And the song wanted, you know, her voice is unreal. Unreal how amazing her voice is. So I just was like, on an Instagram story through a friend, I was just like, man, if she'd sing this song, this is going to be great. And I don't know. It's just one of those things. It almost sounds like a song in like a movie, you know?
Absolutely, man. You know, it's one of the highlights of this record. I love precisely the voice and the power of that song, which is amazing. And I found it in a way very poetic that it is the last track on the album.
Yeah, it's on purpose.
Yeah, I really feel like, this is like the big ending.
Seemed like a nice way to say goodbye.
Absolutely, man. It was like a really a nice journey. So. And
then if you heard the album again, I feel like it would just start so different than it started the first time. You know, it almost like reset where you'd be like, oh, this is the first song. I mean, it took me so long to make the album order. It's crazy because it's like you can only hear it so many times, and then you just can't tell if what you're doing is right. So you'd find songs that go well together, and then you'd hear like 8 and you'd be like, those are good. And then 9 would be weird. And so you'd listen a little further, but then you can't hear it again because you'd have to wait a few days before hearing the whole thing. It just took so long. Cool,
man. Cool. That's nice to hear. So, and Another part of this of this brand new record that you put out today. One of another things that caught my attention was like this series of videos that you've been releasing, because it really feels like if we were into a movie, I really like the videos that you recorded, and I know that you also like to, or are you into acting? It's another thing that you love to do. And I want to know, so how it was experience, because it really, this kind of videos are in another level, and the cinematography is great.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely got very lucky with Angela and Silken and their whole crew. Well, there's a lot to answer there. I went to film school. I love film. I've always wanted to do something, whether it's production or directing or writing or music for it or acting. I love the how movies moved me when I was young. So that's always been in my blood as much as music. Music was just like they're both deep loves. They're just different, right?
Yeah.
I was trying to make a movie for this album, and the character was Downtown Fred. And I met this amazing director, and we were trying to do it, and we couldn't get the money for it, but we had this. It was very cool, this hero's journey of this guy who's like successful in Vegas, but like in the outskirts of Vegas, and so it was kind of like not what he wanted, but he couldn't get out of it because it was such a easy life. And I was gonna play some songs and stuff like that. It was really cool. Couldn't do it. I got introduced to Angela and Silken, and I was telling them that, and then they helped keep that world, but turn it into their own unique thing. And then we found this space. So it all takes place in one space, which would be the space that I kind of like, this character lives his whole life. So that was my backstage, is the first video. The bar where I would drink at night would be the second video. The third video is the kitchen where I play my poker games, or I do whatever things, you would do in there. And the fourth one that just came out is I'm getting beaten up throughout all the places. So you see the whole thing. And then the fifth one, I perform a song on stage like I would every night in this, fake character world. So yeah, it was, we spoke of, we liked similar directors and similar styles. And it's like, you just try to, it's always better to try to fail emulating something that you admire. I feel like you end up creating something uniquely yours. I've made 5 amazing videos. I hope that we get to do more stuff together, because it was just so fun. They really pushed me. I mean, everyone on the crew, man. 2 days, 5 videos is not for the faint at heart. It's very hard.
I know, man.
You can even see in some of the videos, we didn't get to do everything we wanted, or there's a lot of imperfections because we just didn't have time. I mean, it's charming. I don't mind it. It kind of works with the album and how it was recorded, but it's definitely, it's definitely hard.
I know, man, but the videos are great. I saw an hour ago the last one chance.
One chance, yeah.
And I really like the fight scene,
Yeah, it's fun. That was so much fun. I wanted to do more, but we didn't. We had 2 hours to do all of it, and so like the stunt guy had to do. I only had the close-ups because there's no way for me to have learned all the choreography in that 2 hours. Just would have been impossible.
Yeah, I mean, 2 hours seems like a really little time.
I mean, on like basically, I guess that has like three cuts, but yeah, are you kidding? Like, not even enough time for the camera to understand what it's doing, let alone what the actors are doing. I mean, someone would take a week to do that. At least a day, a whole day, where you or 2 days, where you learn it all in one day, or like pre-video.
Sure, yeah, man. I can imagine that. So, and speaking of cinema, do you have any favorite directors in your life?
I mean, nothing, no hidden directors. I always feel like I'm trying to find like some, classic big directors are pretty amazing. Francis Ford Coppola, Stanley Kubrick, Martin Scorsese, David Lynch, Spielberg. There's probably a lot more I don't like off the top of my head. I mean, what's a recent movie? It's incredible. A French director who did the Holding Your Breath movie, Going Underneath, and he also is that Jean-Luc? What is that Big Blue? What's his name? I think he did. Yeah, the Big Blue. I think he did La Femme Nikita too. Yeah, Luc Besson. Yeah, he's amazing. I mean, so many. The guy is a French director who did The Prophet. His movie called The Prophet. Just fucking incredible.
Good, man. Amazing. Great names out there. So, and well, let's go back a little bit to the new album.
Sure.
This new album also was produced by Gus Oberg.
Yes.
He produced a record, and well, it's an all-time friend of you. But you work in the past also with the great Rick Rubin. I would like to know how different is it to work with each and one of them. So what would be the difference between work with these great guys?
I mean, it's different settings though. One I'm working on my own stuff, and one is like a band setting. So I've never worked with Rick alone, one-on-one. I mean, I guess the band has done with Gus. He did Angles and Come Down Machine, work with Rick. I mean, they're both very smart and unique and understand music in a very broad way. And they both helped myself and the group bring out the best and kind of like help alleviate that weight that gets created when you're creating, of just like you're constantly pushing and going in different directions. And if someone doesn't like tell you to stop or rein you in, sometimes you can just, walk past really great stuff, or like not understand, or have 10 ideas and not know which way to go. That's really what always seems like the really great people how they end up helping the most. But they have surprisingly, they have a lot of similarities. I just think, Rick has had a lot of success and is older, and so there's a different kind of weight when you're around someone like that.
Wow, cool, man. So, I mean, next questions, I name it records in your life, because this is your fifth album. So, Yours to Keep, Como Te Llama, Momentary Masters, Francis Trouble, and this new one, Melodies on Hiatus. So, what's the sensation to have now 5 albums in your solo career? Each and every one has something special, Do you still feeling that adrenaline or joy when you finish a new record?
Do I still feel the same joy? Is that what you're saying? I feel like I was thinking about the other day. I actually have 5.5. I have an EP and 5 albums. I was like, I can't believe I've made so much music.
Yeah, I mean, I asked about that because it's 5 records. It has to be something special, man. Especially after all these years, and also that you are in a band like The Strokes, and also that it's been there for so many years,
Yeah, I mean, I can get lost in the process of working, and that's my favorite bit. Even though if you asked me while I was doing it, I would tell you I'm hating it because of the roller coaster that it is. But looking back, that is the purest form of it, where you're just like in discovery, even if you're at a loss for it, there's still a possibility.
Yep.
It's always exciting. It's also like you have it for yourself for a while and you can't wait for people to hear it. And then the process of releasing something is a long thing. You know what I mean? Like I handed this in a year ago because that's how long it takes for vinyl, like 9 months. And so I love it, but it's like it feels like the past. For people listening to it, it's like where I am now, but I feel like I'm a different person now. So it's like it's an interesting way to. It's like fans or people discover what you were like. And then you talk about it, and you're like, I don't know. I mean, when I was making it, I feel like it was 2019 when I started making this album. I don't even know who that guy was. But yes, of course, it's still like, I don't know, I feel very grateful that I have such an amazing record label that, wants to I'm part of the game. I'm part of the system in that way. And that's like, you can forget that, and it's not like I'm in a position where I'm like this large artist, so of course I'm part of it because people make money off of it. I'm like, I ride that line where it's not really like that. And so just to continue being able to do it and find people who are interested in investing in my art is special. I've actually thought to myself, I don't know what to do next. I feel like I'm maybe done making records. That the experiment has gone long enough, and it doesn't like, I can release songs without just putting up, like can't really tour. It just feels like I need to find a new direction in music to exist. So it's like an interesting crossroads.
Sure it is, man. I'm pretty sure that it is. So, and well, speaking about all that, as I mentioned, you have now 5 solo albums in your career, and I think you have improved a lot. I think you have improved a lot as a singer, as a songwriter, and as a guitarist. Or as a guitar player. So, how would you describe yourself at this point in your life as a musician and as an artist? Do you feel more comfortable, more mature, more confident?
No, I feel like I've reached the beginning I found this really cool guitar teacher, and I feel like I might be getting close to, if I put in the work in the next 6 months or a year, like stepping up my game where I would like to be, or at least I'd like to understand what happens in that discovery. So I'm excited for that. But no, I think you'd find that sure, I bet there's some, and I envy them, but most people who create don't think of themselves like that. You're always just like, things come out of nowhere and through work, and it's just like it's a weird thing to do and to live with inside. So it's a weird thing to be, have an ego about. But I imagine if I was doing it and was like really successful at it, maybe I could see feeling like, having like a bigger ego. I don't know. I've met artists who've done really well and they're always insecure about what they are doing. And then I've met people who've done nothing and they're the cockiest people I've ever met in my life. You're like, wow. So who knows? I really have no answer. That's not part of the enjoyment for me anyways. My goal is to just live in the process, and everything else is out of my control. And so if I don't enjoy that or live in that, I'm just going to be living in constant, constant fear.
Wow, that's really nice to hear, man. A constant fear. I think that's a great motor for a creative process in many ways of the life itself, So
yeah.
So you've been living great memories on your solo career and also with the Strokes. Speaking of them, the Strokes are still together after more than 20 years. You guys recently play alongside with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. In the past, Eddie Vedder singing one of your songs. You're still being headliners on some festivals around the world, and here in Mexico, you play in big stadiums. So, have you ever imagined that all this would happen?
I mean, that's the weird thing with life. It's like, no matter what I say here, did I ever imagine it? I mean, it's gonna sound weird, but yeah, when I met those guys and we were together, like imagining it and it actually happening are two very things. But did I feel a different energy when we were all together, and like it felt so when things happen, it's obviously still a surprise and crazy. I mean, do you think that you're still gonna play music 20 years later, or if anything, I actually feel like I'm in a bigger band now than ever. Did I know that? No, of course not. But I definitely, even if nothing would have happened, there was definitely something unique when we all got together. It felt different.
That something was special would happen now.
You can't predict that kind of stuff. Even it's the entertainment business. You have no idea. I think all you can do is focus on making songs that'll stand the test of time, trying to maneuver. It's just all unknown.
Absolutely. And well, speaking about that, your last show here in Mexico, I don't want to miss this opportunity to ask you about that. So, because that gig in Mexico is your biggest show ever in the Strokes history, right? So how do you make you feel? And I was wondering if you have any good memories about that night.
I only have good memories about that night.
How do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a trick question. It's the highlight of our career. I mean, I think it's like hopefully a premonition of what's to come, globally and for the next 20 years. I think you look, I think when you grow like that, it's exciting. Well, what's exciting about making new music is that you're surrounded by talented people and you feel like you still have so much to share. So that's always that makes a band feel invigorated and feel like alive. So but then you mix that with playing a show like we had there, and like what the future could be, and what the new album that the crowd and felt like in playing that big show. I mean, it felt like we could have played that big show just based on that album. Could have walked out and done all 9 songs, and it would have been perceived like a really good time. So that is, I don't know. It felt like a new beginning playing a show like that. It really was. It was beyond special. I had some friends there who came just for fun, not thinking it would be like that. We filmed some of it, and like the crowd was just so loud. It's so electric to play something that big, be with that many people.
Cool, Albert. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the time. It was a nice chat, man. I really appreciate it, and I wish you the best of luck with this new album, and hopefully we can see you someday soon here in Mexico City playing that songs.
Great. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day, Albert. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Suscríbete a nuestro podcast y escucha las entrevistas más relevantes de WARP en WARP Talks.